We invite the gong these days to remember those who have gone before us, left us this beautiful valley, been members of our congregation, and also for those of you here today, it's good to see you, and for those who will come. Good morning. I'm Lillian Fifield, your service leader for today, and I just want to welcome you. Welcome to the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist Congregation. It is the last day of June, and actually it's the last day of my being a board member, and I appreciate all of you for all the support in that, and Sharon for taking that responsibility. I do want to know that you are so welcome here. We know that you come from different places and different religions, different beliefs, and we hope that you find a home here and comfort, connection, and also some love, because we all enrich each other. And it's nice to hear children back there. There are only a couple of announcements. They're in your order of service. Please remember the Roy Zimmerman concert on Thursday, July 11th. That's this Thursday. If the debates frustrated you in any way, I urge you to come listen to Roy. He has quite a sense of humor and a number of opinions about MAGA. I want to thank our staff today. We have Jake Tranter on media, and he will also be up here in a while. And Larry is going to be working with us, and Lily Weiser. My favorite thing is now to introduce Stephen Landell, because we don't get to see him very often, and that makes it a real treasure, and I hope he will come more. He's chosen, after 11 years as a Unitarian minister, to be a chaplain, and loves that work. I think 12 years now you've been doing that? Yeah, thrilled with his job. He lives in Eugene, and he spends his time a lot with his family and friends. And I guess kids are growing older, so maybe not as much time with them. But he really enjoys the simple things and his life in general. It is that point in the service when we collect food and money for those who are in need. So if a couple of you will come up, thank you, and take the fish baskets. Fish is a food provider that we have supported for many, many years, as do other churches. And I think Maria Callas is still on their board, and we thank her for her work there. Thank you so much. Your donations are always appreciated and, of course, much needed. It is at this point that we light the chalice, and Jake is going to be joining us for that, followed by a response reading that will involve all of you. So, Jake.
Good morning. Our words are as follows. Let there be light, the light of joy, the light of happiness, and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace. And let there be dark, for it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, tried and tested, and impelled toward growth. It is in these places that we realize compassion and learn to love. And there was day and there was night, and there was joy and there was sorrow. and it was good. We now move forward with a responsive reading. It is 437 in the hymnal. So I will speak the first words. You speak what follows, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth. So I will begin. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon the mystery and revelation in the faces of our brothers and sisters. We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, and the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. Let us worship, not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us worship with the opening of all windows of our being, with the full understanding of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body. To those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love. Thank you.
As Jake leaves us to go back to media, we will now join together in hymn number 95. There is more love somewhere. Words will be on YouTube. Please rise as you are able.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. Won't you join me? There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope. There is more hope somewhere. A little harmony. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. More peace. There is more peace.
Thank you. It is at this time that we get to sing the church Ready to Go. Sharon?
We don't really have care for under 5, and we don't have anybody with the energy to do it. But I offered to take her down, but she decided no.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to hear that. Let's at this point do our circle of life. That's the time when your joys and concerns can be expressed with candle lighting or silence or verbal. So I'll be down here in front with the microphone, and if you'll make a line to my right, your left, we can have our joys and concerns.
to me, come to me.
At this time, we'll be passing baskets for the offering, and know that the support that our community provides for our congregation and activities is so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for your gifts to our beloved community. We now have an anthem. It is number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. It'll also be on YouTube.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need those friends we know. And we believe
picked a more perfect song for our congregation. Thank you for that. And Reverend joins us now for meditation and then his sermon, which will follow, The Art of Happiness. We'll have time after that for some discussion.
Thank you, Lillian. It's so good to be with you all again. I'd like to begin with a guided meditation. It might be just a little longer than usual, based on concepts of the Dalai Lama, who taught that happiness can come from observing what leads us to happiness and what leads us away from it, ourselves, not others. This is part of his greater teachings about mindfulness, self-awareness, and self-knowledge. So I'm going to ring this bell at several different times as I lead you into and out of 3 meditations with about a minute of silence for each. So first, I invite you to close your eyes or keep them softly open, focused on something. Uncross your arms and legs if you wish, whatever helps you be aligned and comfortable. Notice now, what are the sensations in your body? I invite you to bring your attention to the top of your head and slowly go down your body. Where do you feel tension, fatigue, ease, hopefulness, heartache? Is your mind swirling or fairly calm or focused? Do you feel vulnerable anywhere? Soreness, pain, numbness? I invite you to check in with your body. And second, in the last 24 hours or perhaps week, when have you experienced unhappiness, a letdown, sadness, shame, confusion? For me, it often comes when I overindulge in what might have been a brief, pleasant distraction or reset on a screen, usually. Could be scrolling on my phone or playing a game or watching TV too long. It also comes when I make a choice from laziness or self-centeredness rather than offering myself more fully to another person or important task. It might be completely different for you. I invite you to consider, what has it been for you recently? Don't guide your mind with my examples or anything else. Just ask the question and see what recollections emerge. What was happening in those moments? What were you doing? In what environment? No analysis, just recall. Third, in the last 24 hours or perhaps week, when have you felt at least moments of genuine happiness or joy, or deep contentment? It may have been a pleasurable experience all the way through, or it may have come with taking on a task you avoided, or getting to the other side of something difficult. What was happening in that moment or moments? What were you doing? In what environment? With whom? You can bring your attention back to the here, now, in this place. You may have gotten what you needed this Sunday morning from that exercise. You may not have. But if you did, feel free to tune everything out or take a break, go outside. This is the experience that you need today. I'll share now some experiences of my own and things I've learned from the Dalai Lama. He seems to have many approaches to happiness. One of them is to do what we just did. Begin by identifying things that lead to unhappiness and those that lead to happiness. And then set about, in his words, gradually eliminating those factors which lead to suffering and cultivating those factors which lead to happiness. That is the way, he says, in this very practical manner. And for those of you who don't know, Dalai Lama is the head of Tibetan Buddhism, who's living in exile. I learned this in the book called The Art of Happiness by Dr. Howard Cutler, a psychiatrist, based on his interviews with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Cutler points out that adjustment, not happiness, is unfortunately the goal in therapy all too long. He said that therapists today are generally aiming, now he said this 20 years ago, are generally aiming a little higher than Sigmund Freud's grand mission of, quote, I love this quote from Freud, the transformation of hysteric misery into common unhappiness, end quote. But still the focus remains on eliminating dysfunctions rather than finding happiness. Thankfully, I think therapy has been trending in the right direction in recent decades. But still, there's often a focus on problems. I've noticed something similar in my hospice work. With spiritual care, there's focus on comfort, meaning, forgiveness, relationship concerns, spiritual distress, which is when one's beliefs or practices conflict with your current reality, and so on. But words I've never seen in any EMR, and EMR is an electronic medical record software, are happiness and joy. I've used about 6 of them, EMRs. Hospice clinical staff mostly see our time on EMRs as necessary drudgery, part of how we demonstrate to Medicare that we are actually caring for people who belong on hospice and individualizing our plans for them based on their preference and needs, and updating those plans based on changes. But everything that we do repeatedly shapes us somehow. repeated activities shape us. So the various assessments that hospice staff regularly use also shape our thinking and our practice. Our documentation, whether we realize it or not, shapes how we behave when we go into the room the next time. I think it's especially true for chaplains and social workers. The goals are to eliminate a problem like physical pain or spiritual pain, such as with forgiveness or loss of meaning. So we're taught to seek problems to resolve, which is helpful, but very much incomplete. We are taught much less, especially by our EMRs, to seek strengths to enhance or fan the flames of good health, physical, emotional, spiritual. Fortunately, most EMRs allow users to free text a goal or two, to type something in. So I've been adding a goal of my own for some patients, enhanced sense of joy. Establishing this in my official care plans for many is a reminder for me to do what I can to improve the odds on the person I'm with, the human being I'm with, not just a patient, experiencing joy, or their family. In memory care, this can look like taking them outside on a nice day, or singing to them, or with them. So many different forms it can take. One of my favorite moments was when I was leaving a memory care facility and a group of residents started repeating a song I had just sung with them about 5 or 10 minutes earlier, just sing it on their own. I thought, that's it. They're having joy together, and I'm leaving. The spiritual care continues. Back to the Dalai Lama. He could very well be the happiest person alive. And this is astounding considering what he's been through. His is a deep and yet a sparkling happiness, like his voice. I don't know if any of you have heard it, which can sweep in a second from a deep bass into a sparkling kind of happiness, to a bright, spirited laughter, high-pitched. He can also act in surprising ways, quite apart from the, I think, the stereotype of Buddhism that we have in America. An acquaintance of mine when I was at Starr King School for the ministry a long time ago, Dawn Rose, once danced for him as part of a group. She and the other dancers formed 2 parallel lines and danced towards the Dalai Lama, breaking out to his left and his right, a few feet in front of him. As Dawn danced by the Dalai Lama, without warning, he stepped forward and heartily slapped her on the back with a huge and joyful grin. I've heard other stories like this of him, and also of his seemingly psychic compassion. He is known for when meeting a group of people who are all focused on him and wanting to know him, to gravitate towards the person in the most pain, take their hand, and listen for a few minutes. This man, overflowing with joy and compassion, has every reason to be bitter. His land was seized by the Chinese government, his people killed or chased away, his temples looted. While he works to right wrongs, he never speaks with the voice of self-righteousness or anger. He is forgiving, he is compassionate, he is effective, and he is happy. When asked how he achieves and maintains these states, the Dalai Lama often uses the words discipline and practice. He teaches us to seek a disciplined mind, to be compassionate and happy. So just hold those two things together. A disciplined mind, a mind disciplined towards happiness, and to be forgiving and effective. The Dalai Lama's approach relies on this personal discipline, and this is what he's known for his entire life. He wakes early and meditates for a few hours before doing anything else. You'd think he'd have it down by now, huh? And he could start to take shortcuts, but he doesn't seem to. And the last year or two, I've come across a more modern perspective on self-discipline and habits, the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which integrates other experts' research and teaching on habits and presents them into a reader-friendly or listener-friendly format. While the Dalai Lama emphasizes personal discipline with spiritual practices, Clear says that, at least in modern America, self-discipline appears to be overrated, that most people who appear self-disciplined have simply structured their lives in a way to make undesirable choices and habits harder and less attractive, and desirable choices and habits easier and more attractive. Both approaches can work, of course, to healthy habits, being more disciplined internally and setting things up so you don't have to be particularly disciplined, especially when combined. But for I think most of us today, Clear's approach might even be better. Way back in about 2003, when I settled into my first house in Rhode Island, I noticed that every day, sometimes multiple times a day, I was driving past a Dunkin' Donuts next to a highway entrance and exit. I love donuts. I made a decision on the spot never to enter that particular Dunkin' Donuts because I knew if I did it once, it would be a temptation almost every single day. At night, for instance, and when I came home from long meetings at church, and a donut or two or three might seem like a really great idea. Now, please know, this wasn't abstinence. I gave myself permission to go to other Dunkin' Donuts. And in Providence, Rhode Island, there are almost always at least one within a few miles of me at any given notice when I lived there, but not that one. It worked. It was a conscious choice to seek out a Dunkin' Donuts or stumble across one once in a while. It's amazing what that one choice did for my donut consumption and my sleep. Now, looking back, I see this as a combination of self-discipline on the front end, combined with a James Clear-like recognition that if I began to associate that part of my drive with donuts, I was a goner. So I made sure not to have that positive, attractive association. In fact, I'm sure if I started doing it, after a few weeks, I'd probably be salivating before I even saw the Dunkin' Donuts, like a mile away on the highway. We know how this is. It was a disciplined front-end choice based on my knowledge of my own lack of self-discipline with regard to donuts. Now, when I told my brother Ed about the Atomic Habits book, he relayed a story of a friend who gave up smoking without telling herself she couldn't smoke. She allowed herself to smoke whenever she wanted, but first she soaked her cigarettes in something that all of a sudden I decided I'm not going to say from the pulpit. I can tell you later. It just made the cigarettes repulsive to her. And she did smoke at first, but the cigarettes became horrible. So it didn't take long for the habit to become undesirable and much easier to quit for good. On the flip side of this coin is making habits, desirable habits, more visible, more attractive, and more accessible. I decided to do this with learning to play the guitar, something I've wanted to do and talked about off and on for more than a quarter century. So my goal since last June is not to play an hour a day or half an hour a day, but 5 minutes a day. It's easy. There's always time for that. Atomic habit, small, tiny habit. My guitar is also out of its case now on a stand next to the TV, which we regularly cover with a Lord of the Rings blanket when not using. So when I sit on the couch and look that direction, it's actually easier to start playing the guitar than it is to watch a TV, which requires taking off the blanket and finding the remote control. You're amazing how this tool is very simple. If the TV is just this, you'll watch more than if you have to walk to it and do something. James Clear shared that some people go further and unplug their television when not using it. You have to go and plug it in, turn it on, a couple extra steps, drops TV usage. You watch when you really, really want to. Now, I still spend far more time watching TV than I do playing the guitar, as Heather can attest, but she joins me for it, so anyway, I'm not apologizing to her for it. And I'm still, after 1 year, barely good enough for memory care, but I'm happy with my progress. One of Clear's great quotations is, you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. I'll repeat that. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory, where you're headed, than with your current results. With that in mind, I keep a spreadsheet tracking my daily habits. Guitar, playing 5 minutes a day. Did I eat fruit or vegetables before snacking on something? May have been a few carrots. Was I keeping to small quantities of food? It's like this long. It's crazy. But the main result of this habit with the guitar is I enjoy it. It's a great evening ritual. And as Heather noticed recently, it seems to have become the cue for our cats to start lobbying for us to play lasers with them at night. It's kind of funny, like after I play the guitar, that, cats who have been sleeping all day all of a sudden perk up and getting ready to go to bed. So one formula for happiness might be this: get real with yourself about the things that you do that you later regret or wish you hadn't done quite so much of, and make those things less visible, less attractive, and or require more steps to start. Set time limits on your devices. I mean, phones are an incredible enemy. We're up against bad odds with them, so put time limits on them. Unplug your TV, as I mentioned. Keep snack foods in the closet far away from the kitchen, with Friday evening being the time you allow yourself to go and bring some down, just a set quantity that you can't exceed until next Friday, when you can look forward to it. And be real with yourself about the things that bring you genuine, healthy happiness, not a superficial happiness. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have hard days, but something that brings you a genuine, healthy happiness or contentment. And make those things more visible, easier, and take pleasure in the baby steps with which you engage in them. Psychologically, it's important to actually, it sounds cheesy, but give yourself a pat on the back for doing it. Say, I did this, and this feels good. Like apparently that is as important as the doing of the pleasurable thing for reinforcing the habit. So this might be time outdoors, whatever it is for you. The Dalai Lama, in other interviews I've seen, emphasizes warm-heartedness with regards to personal happiness. He has defined Buddhism in one word as compassion. He said, people say, what is Buddhism? And he says, compassion. He teaches kindness. If happiness is your goal, he says, then start by doing what you can to help those around you feel happy, secure, valued, even loved. I am privileged to witness this kind of approach to happiness every week, if not every day, as a hospice chaplain. At a skilled nursing facility in Eugene, the staff really liked one low-key, easygoing resident. He was looking forward to a facility bus tour of Christmas lights on homes and properties in the area. But when the time came, he was too ill to go. So, over half a dozen staff members dressed themselves in Christmas lights and paraded through his room. That was a happy day not just for him, but for them and others around. In a memory care unit, I visited an isolated woman, bedfast, with no family or real friends close enough to visit. It seemed like her room was always dark. So much of my care for her was to facilitate calls and video calls with her sister in Georgia. This isolated, often depressed-seeming woman became a giggling little girl on the phone with her sister. It was so sweet. She loved hearing about her baby great-nephew and was beaming with joy when she finally got to see the child through a video call. And I was there with her when this happened. I've had so many people I visit come to life with a hug or a gentle rub on their back, or even a genuine warm smile coupled with a sharing of appreciation about something specific about them that helps you know that you see them. Saying something like, I love your mischievous spirit. Something like that. People don't hear that often enough. So all of us can practice warm-heartedness even when we are not feeling particularly happy or warm about ourselves or our life situation or the world. When we can bring some light and love to someone else, we may find that we'll wind up being just a little bit happy ourselves. There are so many ways to practice joy and find happiness. Letting go of expectations. Practicing gratitude in a regular way, in writing or out loud, and more. Serving, making meaningful contributions to others, to our environment. Now, finding meaning in the work you do, even if it seems on its surface ordinary or isolated. Working in HR or being in an office for, a company that's not like serving people in obvious ways, that's still doing some good. There's stability, there's role modeling of working well, there's a self-respect you gain from doing a job well. All these things are positive. I'd like to close with some personal sharing about my life since I last preached here and what I've learned about some specific causes of suffering and of happiness in my own life. For years, I've gone through different phases in my hospice career. A couple of times when going through a divorce, I felt myself leaning towards burnout, kind of tilting that direction. Since Heather came into my life, that has not been the case at all. My range of happiness with my job has ranged, say, from a 1 to 10, I would say from like a 4 or 5 to 10 on a 1 to 10 scale on any given week. But I have had some fairly persistent low-level unhappiness from two sources. First, comparing myself with others. Specifically, my friends from high school, who were all in the honors classes with me, and some from my college, Cornell, an Ivy League school. For instance, a doctor, a lawyer, a top executive for a national teachers union, a healthcare entrepreneur, a high-level official in a state government. Higher incomes, higher social status, and at least as I imagine, greater intellectual challenges on their jobs. I love what I do, but there's days when I'm singing You Are My Sunshine with people, and sometimes I come home and think I've got more to offer than this upstairs. And especially when I compare. So, and as I said, even when I can set aside this habit of comparison, there is, I think, a more healthy desire to use and develop a greater range of skills than a hospice chaplain often can. That part's more legit, but it's also, I think, been a cause of suffering. So finally in February, I was offered, accepted, and began a position as a hospice social services manager with a reputable nonprofit hospice for which I had worked previously. As many of you know, I was thrilled for weeks. And then some things started not feeling right. Different days at different times, I felt confused or limited or pressured. And I made some errors in judgment. I started pushing, trying to show my worth when it would have been better to stay back and just learn and observe. And I made one error in particular that led to my dismissal. As in, here's a box, and the HR officer will help you pack your things. 1 hour, I had the kind of job for which I'd been hoping for years and was on a Zoom or Teams meeting, getting to know other people. And the next hour, literally, I was driving away for the last time at 10 a.m. 56 years old, this felt humiliating. Naturally, I was devastated and went through the kinds of cycles you can imagine. Shame, first, regret, confusion, fear, all of it. Friends and colleagues over the coming weeks, with appropriate knowledge of the situation, reassured me that while I made mistakes, the situation could and probably should have been handled better on the employer side. That helped, but I was still unemployed, carrying a shattered dream, and going through some PTSD. Very hard to sleep. Now, many people and things contributed to my recovery, of my sense of dignity and my happiness. Heather, first and foremost. Her compassion, devotion, continuing respect, and joyful nature have made it hard for me to be too far down for too long. My college friend Chris was wonderful, as was another friend Bob, who knew the agency well, and other friends and family. And I had the good fortune to find an opening with my prior hospice, the one I left in February and have been with for 25 months previously. When I called the executive director, when I heard there was an opening and told her the new job didn't work out, she said, "Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry for you." And she was thrilled to have me back. And I'm back to the same old job I had in February. The first couple of weeks, it did feel like taking a step back. Like, I'm glad I have the safety net, but no great victory. But things started to change in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I hadn't realized quite how much I was appreciated by my co-workers until I returned, first of all. That's been wonderful. My boss has been very supportive of my contributing in some different ways, including mentoring another chaplain that was hired to replace me a few months earlier. But this last week or two especially, the people who have most restored my sense of meaning and feelings of happiness have been the people I visit through my work, patients and families. I've started off some days fairly distracted or tired, first from the PTSD, more recently from the allergies, and later became more fully present, less through personal spiritual discipline or any daily habit on my spreadsheet, which have helped, but mostly through my one-to-one encounters with others, just showing up with genuine care and curiosity, and things start to happen. I have a deep sense of contribution from the work I do, most days at least, and I'm regularly learning from others. Ironically, it might seem to people who aren't familiar from hospice about how to live. I can see myself in a manager or other position at some point, but I no longer feel so concerned about it. It may be that my current role as chaplain is what I'm meant to be and will continue doing to retirement, and the exciting career opportunity that turned into a painful and shameful failure, as I experienced it at first, might actually have been the perfect cure for the grass is always greener on the other side envy that was the strongest barrier to my sense of fulfillment and happiness. We'll see. But I wouldn't be in this place, though, if I hadn't gone for it and tried, if I hadn't taken that leap. So, for now at least, on June 30th, 2024, my final word on happiness is this: live fully and bravely, learn and embrace whatever happens, smile and offer your very best to the person in front of you, and make sure that very best includes your desire to learn from them, to learn with them, and in so doing, to find a blessing. May it be so. Amen. We've gone over a bit. Would we still like to have a little bit of discussion? We'll
Would we like some discussion?
question or something, and we can keep these a little shorter and briefer, and then we'll sing, but would love to hear if you have any, if it's brought up anything for you.
I'm Sharon, and I always tell people I've never been happy in my life. That's sort of a joke, okay? But what I've discovered is, if you just pay attention sometimes, and pay attention to your moments of happiness, you realize you have been happy. My husband and I have a habit every night, before we go to sleep, of saying our joys for the day. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. And it's really helped a lot. And sometimes it's hard. Mm-hmm. Especially if I had a partner who told me, I'm going to clean this up for here, okay? He said, if you look at the world through its all you're going to see is And I went, oh, that's true.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Well, I was in your things that you had us do and remember and plan about was this morning. I found myself helping the children with the woman who was here make puzzles and look back there for the things that Sharon has organized for children to do here, up here. And I can feel when I stopped doing that. I mean, I moved away, got my hymnal, got myself ready, sat down in a seat that's different than I've ever sat in. By the way, I'm warning you all, I know all the people who sit where I used to sit, so I'm coming around to sit in other places. So, but my feeling, as you were having us think about those things, I just thought, I wish I'd completed with her, sat there, and let them know that I will help with the puzzle, and I will do whatever I know as a mother, because that's what she was, something I've never been, which is a mother of 3 children under 5. And so, yeah, I can see I stopped having fun with them, and I regretted it.
I particularly appreciate your remarks about hospice, and they're the most fantastic people, absolutely fantastic. My husband died on June the 3rd, and I would like everyone to know that the memorial service will be August the 3rd here at the church at 11 o'clock. Thank you for what you said this morning. You really touched me. And I felt like you, when you did your talk, you had me in mind. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for sharing, all of you.
I would like to comment on having a disciplined mind. That I notice about myself when my mind just gets recessed. Oftentimes it will go to things where, why isn't that person doing this? You know, it goes into that file cabinet. And I have found that when first of all, I started kind of counting, so to speak, how often I did that, and realized it was a lot. And so it's just my awareness that when my mind was on recess, you know, it would drift off like that. So just my awareness alone that I was doing that started decreasing that behavior. So, you know, your comments about a disciplined mind, I mean, that's what I think. That when I start doing that, I just have stopped paying attention.
That's wonderful. I can add on that. I think whether or not noticing, like our mind wandering or we said something hurtful, noticing things about ourselves that we want to change, can lead us to a more disciplined mind, or can just send us into a cycle of shame or something, can make it worse. And I think the difference really can be how we respond to it. It takes real effort to say, oh, good, I noticed that. And like really for a while, make that a goal. I had a counselor advise that if there's something I wanted to change, like don't get past that. Just your goal is to just start to observe and notice it and congratulate yourself for noticing it. That's it. It takes habit. So that's wonderful, and that will lead to the ways of being and thinking that you want. However, if you catch yourself thinking, there I went again, I did it, it's just making things worse. It's, adding insult to injury in a way. But we do that, and I've done that, and I've had to work hard at it. Yeah, so many things. It's the attitude which is done. Anybody else? Or? Thank you for sharing. I'm sorry for your losses. One thing else I want to put out is that sharing of joys at the end of the day with one's partner. It's a lovely exercise. I have met in grief support groups people who have done that with their partners long after they passed. Hey, honey, here's what was wonderful today. I thought about you, A, B, C, and D. So it can be a very helpful practice for grieving. Turn something painful into something at least that has an element of feeling connection and appreciation and gratitude. Why don't we sing together? Love Will Guide Us, number 131.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from grief to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can live from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope beside us, leading the way on the road from grief to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
I like that song. Larry Hyde joins us now for the closing words.
The closing words today are from Samuel A. Trumborn. Go forth in simplicity. Go forth in simplicity. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. I'm going to extinguish the chalice today. We have come today in love and the consciousness of love, knowing that a loving God is all that there is. May each of you develop that discipline of love and happiness that was spoken of today. And so it is.